I don't think there should be any teams out there that are made up entirely of one type of person. Like, I don't think there should be any teams out there that are made up entirely of dyslexic individuals, of ADHD, of autistic, of neurotypical, whatever it is. You need people with different ways of thinking in order to make it so your team is effective as possible. I'm going to use top-down versus bottom-up styles of learning to kind of explain one of the reasons that this is. So a top-down style of learning, which is often the kind that's preferred by dyslexic individuals, ADHD individuals, and many other people, is one that says, if I'm going to understand something, I want to understand the big picture first, and then once I see that, then you can hand me the details. Tell me where we're going, and then we'll figure out how to get there. And when you have that style of learning, often you're pretty quick at figuring out, okay, what is that bigger picture? Because you end up drawing from a lot of other context things. You draw from other life experiences, knowledge that you have. Like, you can kind of see how this picture fits into the bigger picture, fits into the bigger picture. You get the idea. And that is incredibly valuable, except when it comes to some of the finer details of how the system itself actually works. Because when you're looking at all that bigger picture stuff, often there's not as much room for those details. And that's where people who have a bottom-up style of learning come in. Because they show up and they're like, don't show me everything else. I want to see the pieces of the system. I want to really get familiar with those so that I can use those to build an understanding of how this individual system works. And the amount of detailed understanding that those individuals develop of how a specific system works is just incredible. Like, it's so far beyond the level of detail that you'll often find with people who have a top-down style of learning. And that's why you need people whose brains work differently. Because the top-down style approach, people will be like, oh, you know what we should do? We should do this, because that will impact this thing over there. In the bottom-up, people will be like, well, if you do that, it's going to break something in the system. And so you have to work together to figure out, okay, well, how do we do this without breaking that? In the same way that somebody who's a bottom-up approach is going to say, well, let's change this here. And the top-down person will be like, well, if we do that, it's going to change something over here. It's just so important to have people whose brains work differently. And that's why it's so important to appreciate that all of our brains do work differently. And that we all have strengths and we all have weaknesses. And the point is bringing those together to figure out, like, how do we complement each other and how do we do that really well?